We've learned a lot more since we were out here early this morning, and what we know now is that the traffic stop was initiated for an equipment violation. Something simple would have been over pretty quickly, but it started about half a block away, and as the officers got out of their car and approached the suspect's vehicle, that's when he started to speed away. It lasted right around 20 seconds, maybe even a little less, before he turned the corner here and crashed his car. As the first officer pulled up, they got out of the car. He was rocking that car trying to get it to move. I don't think he might have understood exactly how disabled it was. They were giving him some pretty simple instructions to turn the car off, get out of the car. He didn't comply with any of that they offered. As this continued on, they told him, we're gonna deploy a taser if you don't stop, turn the car off and get out. He again ignored them, and they deployed the taser. As they went in to take him into custody, he began to violently struggle with them, and at one point was on the ground outside the car kicking up. That's when he pulled out the handgun and started firing. 2 of our officers were hit. There were a total of 4 Des Moines officers on the scene at that time, and 3 of them returned fire.
Was he on the ground when he started shooting? How was his hands? How were they accessible? What was that kind of look?
Well, he wasn't in custody yet, so he wasn't handcuffed, so he wasn't able to. I mean, we weren't able to stop his hands. Does that make sense? You got it? Okay.
Was the handgun in his waistband? Or?
It's still trying to figure out exactly where that came from. If he had it in a pocket or a waistband, we don't know.
Was there any outstanding warrants or anything with the vehicle aside from the equipment violation?
Not that we know right now. I mean, nothing came back on the plate. They're still doing their investigation again, and DCI is assisting us, so all those little details will come out, but right now nothing stands out.
I know it's early, but do you know how many shots were fired in total?
No, I mean, you've been here, you saw the scene. There's a lot of evidence placards out there, and you got a dynamic situation like that. You're taking care of that threat, and you're going to keep shooting until that threat's taken care of.
Can you talk about the medical response and how the officers, who signaled to who that an officer was down, and what it kind of looked like when the medical arrived on the scene?
Well, I think if you've heard some of the audio already, the officers were right on the radio saying that we've got an officer down, we've got an officer down. The officers that responded and the officers that were there immediately started the first aid to everybody who had been injured. We're fortunate that right around the corner is the fire station, so those medics were able to get here pretty quickly, give that little more advanced care, and then get them on to the hospital so they can be taken care of there.
Any information you can share about the suspect right now?
He's a 37-year-old male. We're working through getting the family notifications. We'll share that name. And as soon as we're done here, you'll have a written release.
Des Moines resident?
I believe Carlisle.
Where were the officers shot? Are you able to share that?
Yeah, so one of the officers was hit in the arm, and the other one was struck in the head.
So how are they? Have you talked to them? What are their
One.
spirits like?
They're recovering right now. One of them's not able to talk to us. He's going to have some pretty extensive care ongoing right now. The second one has been able to talk to his friends and speak with the chief, and they're all down at the hospital right now. So, I mean, all in all, we're very, very fortunate. When you look at a close quarter shooting like that, and plus an officer being struck in the head, we could be telling a very, very different story right now if the circumstances had been just a millimeter different.
Here in Des Moines, officers being shot while responding to calls is incidents of it. I guess, how do you talk to the other patrolmen and other officers on DMPD about situations like this?
Well, it's definitely something you're aware of when you sign on. We know what the risks are, but as you look around the country right now, there's a cop being shot about every 22 hours. So, that's definitely something that we take note of. But probably the most important thing to see is that, roll call started at 6 o'clock this morning, and everybody was there. And tonight, everybody's going to be in roll call. Again, I mean, that's just how we're built. We understand the risks. We do everything we can to keep ourselves safe, but our job is to stand in between you and danger like what we saw earlier tonight, and that's what we're going to do.
Are there any mental health resources that you make available in times like this to your officers?
Yeah, absolutely. The officers involved and then their peers. We had our peer support team come in tonight. We also had the department psychiatrists. They were both there. So there's a lot of different resources and a lot of support within arm's reach, because we know that we need to keep our officers healthy, and the mental health is a big piece of that.
Can you talk about, you guys had a very busy weekend at the Des Moines Police Department, and we're 1 year after Officer Kevin Cram was shot and killed. Talk about just right now, it's a really busy time for you guys. high emotions. What is kind of going through the department's head? What's the spirits like right now?
Well, spirits are, better than most people would expect. We're a family and we're there to take care of each other and support each other. As far as the workload, it does get to be a little mental and physically exhausting. And, we can have a plan B with a backup team for something like what we saw Sunday, where we had two shootings within hours of each other that needed a full detective deployment. But it still gets a little much. But we train for this, we plan for this, we make sure that we've got all of our bases covered. And then you have a situation like you had tonight. We had detectives responding in to help that weren't even on call. So that's just how we're wired. And it's important that we take care of these scenes, but it's also important that we had the ability to tell cops, we got to get back out there and take the other calls. And these cops, yeah, we're going to go do that. So they went right back out and went to work.
Going off of that, it's a long-term effect too, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but the other two officers from 2 months ago are still not fully back to their normal duties, and now at least two, maybe the third officer that also fires weapons today, probably put on some type of alternative duty. I guess what kind of strain does that put on scheduling and just officers in general? I know it can kind of be a broad question.
Yeah, so it's called administrative assignment, and that is that designation is for people who need time off following a critical incident. But you are right. We take them out of the lineup. We take them out of their assignments. I think for any organization, yours, ours, we made it through COVID, right? So we can make those adjustments. We know how to backfill. We know we may need to pay some overtime for a while. There's no shortage of people that are willing to step in and help for their friends. And that's one thing that sets our organization apart from a lot of different other ones.
I want to ask a little bit more about the officer that was shot in the head. Is he awake? What is he looking like?
Well, he needed surgery, so I'm not sure if he's awake right now, but he was unconscious at the scene, but he did start speaking at the hospital. But it's still a pretty frightening moment right there. That outcome could change. We're certainly expecting him to survive, but we're going to just take that one real slow.
Did he get surgery already?
I'm not sure.
Did police vehicles crash into this blue car here to stop it?
They blocked it in.
Okay.
Yeah, as they came around the corner, like I said, the car was kind of rocking back and forth. He was trying to get it free. I don't think he realized that it was disabled. I think he might have thought he got stuck when he hit that truck. We don't know, but just from what we could see, that's what it looked like. They blocked that car in so that it wouldn't, if he did get it free, we wouldn't have a pursuit on our hands.
Where was the suspect shot?
That I don't know.
And so he was shot on the ground with the officers standing, or were they kind of on their knees trying to?
Well, one of the officers was flat on his back because he'd been shot in the head. The other officers were retreating, covering each other and going to cover for themselves. At one point in the video, it looks like the suspect's trying to stand. But he very clearly had his arm extended and was shooting at those officers.
And he died at the hospital, not on the scene?
Right.
We kind of talked about this earlier. You mentioned, that call goes out that an officer's down, and luckily the fire department's not far away from here, but in those few minutes in between getting the call and then hearing how they're going to be, what kind of emotions run through dispatchers' minds, everybody else that's listening, their minds?
Again, it goes back to training, and you get hyper-focused on your task, and you just need to get through it. But the time of the drive, you can't get there fast enough. You just feel like you can't get there fast enough. And then our dispatchers, their mental health too. They take these calls all the time. They're constantly dealing with people and trying to help them through a crisis when their emotions are so high. We bring in other employees to get them out of there so that they can decompress, talk to the peer support folks, and then get back and get to rest. So it's all one big process. But as far as the training piece, you see a situation like this where these officers, they're given instruction, and you can call them commands, but they're very clear guidance for somebody to follow, and there's a reason for that. But they're doing it in a calm manner. They're doing it, there's not a lot of screaming and yelling and hysterics. It's turn the car off, get out of the car now. And then you go to where you have to make a split-second decision that's life or death. I mean, so, you know, between the de-escalation and then the action part, when we actually need to take action, the training is top shelf, and that's what gets you through this. What's going to carry you on is the family part, the partnerships, the support from the peer support team, and the community. And you look at our Facebook page right now, I mean, it's just full of nothing but support. And we know we have that support out there. And the reason we have it is because we do things like this. We're having candid conversation with you about the things that are important in the community. You know, if we make a mistake, we're going to own it. But when we need to give you detail, we're going to give you as much detail as we can so you understand why we make the decisions we make.
A few neighbors I talked to this morning said that they're kind of used to crime around this area. I know this neighbor said he's had cops in his front yard a few times since he's been living here. I mean, is this a common area? I mean, do I see this a lot here?
You got a couple busy roads. I mean, you're close to the freeway. You got Hubble, which is basically a state highway itself. It's just a lot of activity. I worked this area for many years. It can get busy, but there's a lot of other places that can too. And when we start looking at unsafe circumstances, it's usually an individual's unsafe behavior, and sometimes that person is dangerous. So, you know, that's where we step in.
And then are you guys releasing the ages of the officers that were shot?
I released the years of service for the 2 officers. I didn't release their ages yet.
I hate to ask this question.
No, go ahead.
Just given the situation 2 months ago, just wanted to confirm it was the suspect who shot the 2 officers, right?
Well, he was like within feet of them shooting a gun. So all indications are yes.
Thank you.
I think that's all.
Thanks, Sergeant.
Yeah, thank you.
Really appreciate it.
No, thank you for your time. Thank you.